Welcome to the You Are a Force podcast channel, your go-to space for real stories, fearless dreams, and unstoppable women rewriting the rules. And the force behind this podcast. Here is your host, Binoli, Botadara.
Hi everyone, welcome to You Are a Force, where we celebrate incredible women who are reshaping industries and rewriting narratives. I'm your host, Binoli Botadara, and today we are joined by a digital trailblazer who did not just join the conversation, but she started. And from the beginning, as a backup dancer, she pioneered celebrity and lifestyle blogging space in India and went on to become one of the most biggest media empires which redefined Bollywood fashion and lifestyle the way we perceive today. Author of a memoir, To the Moon, How I Blogged My Way to Bollywood, founder of Empowering Girl Tribe Community, and a co-founder of Good Creator Co-Within, within the Good Glam group. And she consistently recognized as one of the Impact's most influential women in media, advertising, and marketing. She's not just the influencer, she's an institution. Not just a voice, she's a movement, and a master storyteller and a beacon of digital entrepreneurship. So none other than Miss Malini. Malini, welcome on You Are a Force.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Binoli. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Your story looks so glamorous and with full of glitter and glow, and just like any Bollywood film, right? So I want to really know that if your life was a Bollywood film, what would the title be, and who would you want to play your role?
Well, I guess, I guess it would just have to be To the Moon, because that's been the title of my book as well. And I feel like over the years, the people that I would love to have play me have changed. Because it's been around for so long. So everyone from Priyanka Chopra to Deepika Padukone to Alia Bhatt. So, I mean, any of them would do an amazing job. That would be the dream.
I'm sure they would. So, Mali, let's rewind from the very beginning of your digital empire. So, with your upbringing spanned over the continents, right? And then it gave you a sort of global lens to the world. And then you fabulously built MissMalini.com from scratch when the whole world was still obsessed with page 3 and maybe a print media. And you actually first set out, when you first started actually, did you have the crystal clear vision that what you wanted to create as a brand, or did you just evolve along your journey? And I just want to really know that, how did you balance between staying true to your voice and also what the audience was craving? So how did you, if you can take us through the journey?
So honestly, when I started, it was 2008. So there was no such industry. So there was no crystal clear plan at all. It was kind of, making it up as you go along. I started off as a professional dancer, as you mentioned, and then I was working in MTVindia.com and Channel V. And this is when all these websites were basically television channels. Their websites were sort of supporting content for these channels. And for me, it was never really a plan. I just really enjoyed the digital world. I started off writing about, things to do in Delhi on like a local city portal. And when I moved to Bombay, I ended up working with Chalo Mumbai, which was the first portal of its kind for the midday tabloid. And then I joined MTV, and then eventually became the channel head of, VH1, where I was doing digital content. But in between that, I was a radio RJ. I was an RJ for 9 years, and that station was owned by Midday. And they had a website, which I actually really loved sort of pottering around with. So I taught myself HTML and Dreamweaver and Photoshop, and I used to keep updating it. And I think what was interesting was it was all at the very beginning of this industry when nobody really knew of it as an industry even. So, I had a lot of leeway to do what I wanted. But I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed, working, going on social media. Twitter and Facebook had just started. No one even really knew what those were. People would tell me, oh, you'd like this, you should sign up. And over the years, it just evolved. Now, looking back, it all looks like it makes sense. And there was some grand design, but there really wasn't. What I was sort of just follow my heart. I used to love to write. I'm a bit of a nerd. So all of those things came together. And for me, I had a gossip column in the midday called Malini's Mumbai, which was a print column, 17 years. And the blog happened because I got tired of the editor always cutting it down to just such short bits of content because there was limited space in the print. And that's literally how the Miss Malini blog was born. One day, I remember, still remember, it's the 5th of May, 2008 in
Wow.
Goa. Sorry, in Dubai. I was chatting with a friend who said, why don't you start a blog? And I remember saying, what's a blog? And he said, it's like this diary. I said, who reads it? And it just sort of evolved from there. So to answer your question, there was no design, but as we started, then we started to put shape to it, and we started to create verticals with Bollywood, fashion, lifestyle, beauty, entertainment, travel, all the things that I love. And for me, it was really about showcasing the world to India and India to the world, because I think that a lot of people only see Discovery Channel
Yeah.
or National Geographic, and they don't know that, India is the youngest population. I mean, 75% of our country is between the age of 27 and 35, and they're all very tech savvy. They're millennials, Gen Z. And so there's a lot happening here that you don't see.
Yes.
And that was kind of what I wanted to capture, because I grew up as a Diplo brat. That's why I have a funny accent all over the world. And there, we used to love getting our Cineblitz and film fair magazines, or watching VHS cassettes of films, but we were starved for what is India and what's happening there. And I think that's kind of what made me, so passionate about it. And then it kind of, took its own life from there.
Amazing. I love that. It's so basically it's a bit of madness and a gut instinct.
I
So
think
I think,
so.
yeah, that's I think an unofficial sort of toolkit you had. So that's amazing. Because also when you said about, how the world perceives, because I live in London, so now I see, how the international media perceive India and then how do they cover. So it's so important, and what you're doing is amazing that, you give that authentic, perspective to how India is and what India is more than anything else.
Thank you.
So I want to know that you have built an empire chasing basically the newness and the first, and but let's flip that. And so what's that one piece of unconventional wisdom about media or entrepreneurship or success you had, which you had to completely unlearn to achieve this success which you have got?
I think that the main thing was the idea that if it hasn't been done before, then it shouldn't be done, or it can't be done. And I think that that's where, it was kind of interesting, because when I started off, even on social media, there was no concept of content creator. Nobody used words like influencer. So when I started off doing my content, I always felt a little bit lost, in the sense that I don't really see anyone like me. Internationally, maybe, my idols are people like Oprah and Ariana Huffington, but who was the equivalent here? We have Chota Bheem and Amitabh Bachchan, and in between, do we have anything else? So I thought initially I was doing it wrong. So what I had to unlearn was, I don't have to follow in anybody else's footsteps. I can carve my own path, and that's kind of what blogging my way to Bollywood is about. That I'm not a Kim Kardashian, I'm not a fashion or beauty expert. I am who I am, and that's fine. And I think after that, if you see, a whole industry has formed of 1.7 million content creators in India today, and they're all thriving because they're unique, and that's what makes them stand out. So I think that was the biggest learning and unlearning both.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting you say that, because 80% of digital media startups actually end up failing because they do not have any authentic sort of, perspective, or maybe they just go for like the ad-driven model, and perhaps that's also something which the business schools don't really teach, but then you have actually, because it's very important to be agile also in this kind of a world, right? Because there's so much happening and there's so much changing at the speed of light. So, yeah. So let's talk about Bollywood. You have
Yeah.
interviewed half of the Bollywood, partied with the rest of the half. And I know because we have some common people, so I definitely know. So, how do you keep those conversations real when you take the interviews, especially because these celebs come with their sort of PR, published public image. So when you interview them, how do you keep it real and authentic?
And I think the good thing is, like you said, because I know them personally, whether we've crossed paths at work, professionally or personally, I think that there's a lot of mutual respect. And one thing that we've always done in Miss Malini, we made a rule early on that we won't write what we can't say to somebody's face. So I don't struggle with having to, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, or try to say something or catch them out, because I don't do that kind of content, and I'm very happy about it. So we don't do Bollywood gossip. We do sort of a celebration of Bollywood with the fun things and the games and the pizzazz. And even if it's a little bit of gossip, it's more in a fun, lighthearted way. It's something I could say to their face. And that, I think, makes the world of a difference. So for me, it never really was a struggle. I think having that comfort zone with them made it more relaxed and easy. They knew that, okay, Malini is going to not ask some kind of savory question, or say something or do something or switch my words. And I think that's all actually worked to my advantage.
That's amazing because I think that's how you build that trust and that, long-lasting reputation. And that's why they would also, go out of their way to also come on to your sort of interviews and conversations. So that's amazing. And speaking of ambitions, and you have actually, there's no secret that less than 2% of the VC fundings actually go to female founders. And in India, it's slightly better because when I was doing my research, I understood that around 5% of the women-led actually startups got the funding in 2023. So when you navigated the whole acquisition of Miss Malini Entertainment before, you found the Good Glam Group, did you face any gender bias or any curveballs? Because
I've always felt that, I've actually been quite fortunate in the sense that being a woman was to my advantage in the industry. Also, being a young woman who was kind of more trendy and hip as opposed to the usual Bollywood journalist or the paparazzi with the big camera and, hounding someone made me stand out in a good way. I think obviously you need more female, VCs to raise more money, but I was actually part of a really interesting conversation where I was hosting a panel for Standard Chartered Bank, and they have released a really interesting index called the Women's Entrepreneurship Optimism Index, and that's at 71%. They say 71% of women founders in India are optimistic about raising money. And I think so the world is changing. I think for me personally, I've had a great experience. I think for me, the bigger challenge was people didn't understand what I was raising money for as a personality-led brand. Then, of course, we were the first ones to be acquired that way, and now it's par for the course. But I think for me, the challenges were different, and it wasn't about my gender. It was more about being a content creator or the key man insurance, that what if you get hit by a bus, what happens to Miss Malini because the brand is named after you. But like any good legacy brand, now it survives without me. I am Malini Agarwal, and Miss Malini is a brand I created. So just because it's not called Vogue or Filmfare doesn't make it any less a brand on its own.
Oh, I love that because I think that's also the narrative which I'm sure you had to change it right in people's head, because most of the times I've noticed that when women are actually going out, and they're usually asked, because we learned it in our business school, that, oh, do you have any man with you on the panel, and or else what happens when you go on a maternity leave, who is going to look after this? And just like you said that if you're hit by a bus, then what's happening with the brand. So that's also, I really don't know if a lot of men are asked those questions, but yeah, could be potentially, and I understand where they come from because their money is on the brand and on you per se. So that's a fair question, actually. Yeah, so building brand, between building brand and starting the community and running this nonstop digital hustle, when was the last time you truly felt seen? And not as a Malini, Miss Malini as a brand, but like you said, Miss Malini Agrawal. And what was that moment like, if you can tell us?
I feel seen quite often, actually, because I have a lot of other interests, and I have my life does not revolve only around Miss Malini. As Malini Agrawal, as an individual, I have a lot of interesting conversations with people about different things that I'm interested in. I have a great friend circle. So I think for me, I feel seen quite a bit. I have a really interesting conversation often with a friend of mine, Ashish Sajnani, who we talk about everybody needs a witness in their life. And I think I feel seen because I'm a good witness myself. And so I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, helping them with something called the Rise and Shine Initiative, a collective where I help young women entrepreneurs build their brands. I work with a lot of upcoming creators to create community. I have a social network called Friday Club I started 20 years ago that I've just revived. So I feel quite seen personally as well.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because you're doing this to me as well, right? When I reached out to you and in a heartbeat, you said a yes. And I was like, the next morning I woke up and I'm like, really? She said a yes. And I was like, oh my God, you made my day. And it's beautiful to see that, behind every empire, there's a human, and that's what you bring, on the table. So that's beautiful. And this industry which you work in, that's actually obsessed with the visibility and vitality and the next big moment. So what's that one quiet, unglamorous, invisible success which not many people know of, but you're very proud of, and something, you clap for yourself?
I mean, I think that I'm really proud of what I've done with the Girl Tribe. It's a community that I started on Facebook and now has, close to 100,000 women in it. And I'm very proud of the fact that it's a community, a safe space that I started when, Facebook said, oh, we have groups. Would you like to start a group? And I started it saying that, okay, I don't want to do another Bollywood or fashion group. Let me do a group for women and call it Girl Tribe. And I'm really proud of the fact that so many women have connected in a positive way. While we think of social media and the internet as such a negative, toxic place, a lot of women have found hope and friendship and companionship and a non-judgmental space to connect with each other. And I'm very, very proud of that people come up to me and not just say, oh, you're Miss Malini, but they say I'm part of your Girl Tribe. And I love that.
Oh my God. And I'm also nodding along because I'm also part of that group. So that's amazing. And from fast forward today, from the time you started in 2008, I want to know that basically India counts roughly 8% of the global influencers. And like you said, 1.7 million in India, but there are 50 million global influencers, around the globe. And we're living in the algorithm filled influencer jungle, if I can say that. So you have seen actually the awkward days to even the Instagram reels, right? So if someone has to start influencing journey today, what would you tell them? And how would you actually advise them? And to be honest, is it actually like that lucrative? Because from the other side, it looks very, very attractive with the freebies and, with the followers and everything. But does that actually pay bills?
I think it does, but you have to not look at it from the perspective of for freebies and a fun glam life because it's a lot of hard work. Even when I'm sitting here and look like I'm getting ready to go out to something, I put in a lot of grunt work behind the scenes. And when I started, I didn't have teams and there was no videographer and editor. I did everything myself. So I think that to answer your question, yes, I think it's still doable, but you have to be willing to work hard and you have to find a gap. You can't just cookie cutter, copy paste what somebody else is doing, especially in a world where there are over a million others doing the same thing. So you have to find your niche, you have to have impact, and you have to look for engagement. What I would recommend is think about the kind of content creator you want to be. What are you doing? Are you teaching? Are you curating? Or are you entertaining? And decide where you're going with that. Or you use social media just as a hobby for yourself. But nowadays, personal brand building, even for brands, is very important. Social media, even for an individual, is very important. So I think it's worth doing. I think that don't look at it from, I always tell people, think about what you would do for the rest of your life if nobody paid you to do it and make that your career. And then somebody will pay you. But you have to do the ikigai test, right? What do I love to do? What can I be paid to do? What am I good at? And what does the world need?
Yeah, so be a part of the hype, but do it with honesty and then authenticity, I think. And lastly, Malini, before I let you go, I want to know that you've built platforms and shaped culture and watched India's creator economy explode. So what's next for you and what's you're personally excited about?
I think for me, I'm excited about my new chapter. I started a new company called If Idea Factory with the ex-creative director of Godrej, and he's the one who started the Be Blunt brand, co-founded that with Aduna. So I'm very excited. I'm already started doing some projects on that. I'm also very excited about paving my way up to eventually doing something like the Oprah show one day. So I'm working on a lot of, different projects. So for me, it's, no rest for the wicked. I don't think stop hustling anytime soon. And, I'm very happy that the Miss Malini brand has a new home with Creative Fuel, and we'll probably be advising them as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome because I think where you are and where you are situated, that's also a great opportunity because I think 229 million users India has on Instagram, which is the highest in the world. I think the US has around 143. So I think it's amazing that people across the globe, but obviously India also has so much potential. But before I let you go, I want to make the most of it by asking you rapid fire. So whatever comes to your mind, just shoot. Don't think. What's a one piece of advice would you give it to your 16 years old self?
Actually wrote it in my first book. It's a letter to my 16 to 18-year-old self that you are the most wealthy in, the most valuable currency, which is time. You have time to make mistakes, to be heartbroken, to fall in love, to do all the things you want to do. And so don't wish time away. And don't, worry about making mistakes because you have more than enough wealth of time to do all of it.
Oh my God, I love that. I don't know how I didn't read it, but I'm going to read it again so that it inspires me more. One hack you use to actually calm yourself before a big event.
I don't calm myself before a big event. I'm a headless chicken and I like it that way.
Best advice you've ever received.
It is literally that. Someone told me don't wish time away and keep busy.
Okay. Dream dinner date apart from Oprah.
Oh man, so many people, it's hard to pick. I think that it would be whoever I'm in love with at the time. So my husband for now.
Good choice, wise choice, actually. Your pinch me moment so far.
I think there's so many. I think every day I get a pinch me moment, when I wrote my first book, then my second book, every award I've gotten, the fact that I've done TV shows, I've literally lived an extraordinary life.
Oh, touch wood to that. Toughest interview you've ever conducted.
I'm always nervous before every interview, but I think, I was very, very nervous to interview Amitabh Bachchan, but it went really well. So
I've heard that, he's very, very difficult to actually break the ice with, and he doesn't open up.
luckily he had great I was interviewing him for the movie Pink, and he was wearing these pink glasses, and we were doing a Facebook Live, and I was so nervous, and I said, "Hi, guys and girls," and I'm with Amitabh Bachchan, and he said, "Stop! Why did you say hey guys and girls?" Actually, because I said, "Hey guys," and then the funny thing is, my father studied under his father, Harivansh Rai Bachchan, and I had a letter that he had written for my father, saying a letter of commendation about how good a student my father is. So that really broke the ice, and he asked if he could keep that, and I thought that was a really nice moment. So
Oh
I
my
think
God.
we were both born in Allahabad, so they say Allahabad ka pan wala bhi intellectual hota hai.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So, on that note, on that amazing, lovely note, it was truly inspiring, Malini, to actually talk to you. And you're not just a reminder that behind every headline, there is not just something what we see like a glam Insta post or every viral reel. There's a woman hustling, dreaming, doubting, and slaying. So just like you and me and all other listeners. So remember, ladies, this is not just a podcast, it's a vibe. It's a virtual girls' night and a masterclass of owning your own voice. So it's growing and vibrant global sisterhood and a place where every woman's story, like Malini's, matter, and we are going to have a collective strength to celebrate each other. So don't forget that you are a force, and let's rise together, amplify our voices, and conquer the digital world with kindness and killing instinct all together. So until next time, stay fabulously influential. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye. Bye, Binoli. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to You Are a Force. Hit subscribe and join us next week for more powerful stories from women rewriting the rules. Until then, keep building, keep leading, and remember, you are a force.